Welcome, everyone, to Homeless in San Diego. My name is Greg Angel. I'm happy to host and very honored to be joined today by Tom McDaniel. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, Tom, we just met, but our paths have certainly crossed because you have successfully gone through some programs and services here at Interfaith, including our residential treatment program, which operates here out of the Escondido headquarters we're at today.
Yes, sir.
And that was a few years ago.
Yeah, I attended for the residential recovery and then transferred over to the Interfaith outpatient over on South Escondido Boulevard.
Cool. And what brings you back here today? Why do you want to come on this show and share about your journey?
Well, like I mentioned earlier to you before the show started, I've stayed in communication, and I'm really good friends with Elliot, who works here. He's
one of our counselors.
One of my past counselors. He was a big impact on me throughout my recovery and helping me to get on the track that led me to where I am today and where I'm headed in the future. And a few weeks ago, we were talking about, getting together for another lunch or something. And he happened to mention, he's like, "Hey, would you be interested in coming on a podcast and kind of share your story?" I was like, "Of course, man. Why not?" So anything I could do to help and offer some encouragement to anybody that's, interested in the program or struggling through anything that they might need some encouragement or help, getting through. I'm happy to do it.
Well, Tom, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. And to our listeners, if you're somebody who's having some challenges, if you know somebody who's having some challenges, that's one of the reasons we do this show, is to show that there can be brighter days ahead, and there are resources out there. So Tom, let's back up. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from, and what was your childhood like?
So I grew up a few miles from here, actually, in San Marcos Vista area, about a mile from Palomar College, where I just graduated from this last semester.
Hey, congratulations.
Actually, I've graduated from there twice, but my most recent graduation was this last semester. I got another Associate's Applied Science for Air Conditioning and Refrigeration, and my previous one is for Architectural Drafting Technology. That was from 2011. So I've been going on and off there for like 19 years. I think my mom went there too for like some cake decorating class like 40 years ago or something.
Okay.
Like that. So,
you're well educated there at Palomar.
Yeah.
You're saying you know the campus really well.
Yeah. No, I definitely know the campus very well. I'm on a first name basis with most of the administration on campus. Yeah, pretty much every department knows me by name.
Well, and you said so you grew up close to there.
Yeah, so
local.
I grew up down on Smilax Road, which is like the border between San Marcos and Vista.
Yeah.
Back when we had the Hollandia Dairy down the street and all those things. So back when there was horse paths instead of sidewalks.
Yeah,
so back in the day where I preferred that kind of time, but. So I grew up out here until I was about 7 years old. My parents went through a divorce when I was about 6 or 7 and transferred out to Carlsbad, actually. Started going to Carlsbad schools and remained there until I was about 32, just a couple years before I came here. So I had somewhat of a rough childhood dealing with, I was always a smart kid, but probably too smart for my own good. Got in a lot of trouble growing up. I could do everything in my classes. I was actually advanced in a lot of my classes. Like first grade, I was doing second grade work. Second grade, I was doing third grade work. And then once my parents got divorced, I started kind of fall behind and just wasn't interested in school. So I just started getting into trouble. That's when I started falling into drug use, being out on the streets till all hours, just doing whatever I wanted to do.
How old were you then?
When I first started using, I think I was about 9 years old, fourth grade. And that was the start of everything. I remember I started using to kind of slow myself down so I could feel like everybody else. But I didn't, now being older, I realized I didn't know how anybody else was feeling.
Sure. Do you mind sharing what you were using at 9 years old?
So I was using cocaine, alcohol, and marijuana. And then later on, a few years later, I started using methamphetamines on and off for several years. So I had about 20 years of use between all those things. And, it really took a toll on my life. Even though I was able to be successful in a lot of ways, when I was about 23, I was doing very well. I got married, had 3 kids. I had married into 2-step kids, had my daughter. At 24, I had finished my degree my first degree at Palomar College, and became a lighting design engineer at a company called the Maryland Brands out in Oceanside, designing light fixtures. And I was still using, I was still drinking, using cocaine, marijuana, all this stuff, and just I was a high functioning addict.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really see the issues with it. I knew I had some issues, but I just didn't, they weren't impactful enough for me to try to do anything about it.
Well, even at that young age, that had been well over half your life.
Yeah.
I mean, 24, you'd been using 15 years at that point.
Yeah. So, I mean, most of my life was just, I can't say it was a cloud because I knew what I was doing, and I was just, I was living my life, doing my thing. And that was just what helped me to feel stable, because I've had mental health issues ever since I was a kid, and a lot of anger issues. I don't know if it stemmed from my parents' divorce or anything like that, but I was neglected and mistreated a lot, and so I just kind of built a lot of resentments and just kind of shunned the world, and that was my way of coping. I didn't have proper coping skills or anybody to teach me other ways of dealing with things, so I found my way.
Yeah. And that way led you to what? What happened after that?
So when I was about 26, 27, I started having some issues, just a lot of mistrust. I found out my wife was being unfaithful. She got pregnant by somebody else, tried to convince me it was mine. I freaked out about it and had a lot of issues. And I actually got to the point to where I checked myself into the mental hospital at Tri-City Hospital, to the behavioral health unit, for a couple of weeks, and to try to get my mind right, because I was ready to end everything. And I didn't, care who went with me or anything like that. I was literally losing my mind, and I recognized it. And so that was the first time I actually reached out to anybody for some real help. And, thank God for that. Kind of got me in a little better headspace for a few years.
I mean, that's a very uncommon step for somebody to take, to reach out to a mental health, to a behavioral health, hospital, and check them in at that point. Oftentimes people go different routes.
Right. I mean, I had, like I mentioned, I had trouble when I was in junior high school. I was doing my own thing, but I got in trouble in high school and was sent to rehab when I was 17, my junior year. I got caught with some weed on campus.
Yeah.
And got caught growing weed on the roof of my house. And so that was back when it was a major felony. And so they weren't happy about that. And they said, "You want to go to prison or rehab?" And I was like, I'm 16. They're like, "Yeah, we don't care." So I was like, "Sign me up. I'm going to rehab."
So that was your first time at rehab.
Yeah, but that was...
Did you get any treatment then?
In some ways, yes. In other ways, no. I kind of ran my own program while I was there. I did get really healthy. I went from 155 pounds to 219 pounds of solid muscle, just working out every day for 6 months. When I entered into Phoenix House down in Descanso, I don't think it's open now. I think it burned down a few years ago.
Was that the treatment center?
Yeah. So it's Phoenix House or Phoenix Academy for minors.
Yeah.
And so when I went in there, that was for the weed thing. A lot of counselors there were actually trying to help me, even though I didn't want it. I was like, dude, I just need cord off my back. That's all I really wanted to do at the time. I just wanted to get everyone to leave me alone so I can keep doing my own thing.
Yeah.
But I did recognize that there were a few counselors that were really pushing, trying to get me to recognize my anger issues, my defiance issues. I never believed there's any authority in my life, whether you had a badge or not. There's no authority in my life other than myself and God. Those are the only two people I'll ever answer to. Or that's always the way I felt. But I started to recognize that these people are trying to get me to recognize the issues that I was facing. And whether I wanted to or not, they kind of helped me to focus on myself and the issues that I was having. I didn't get along with people. Anybody that had a problem with me, whether it was valid or not, it was their problem, not my problem. And it kind of helped me later on in life to recognize, like I said, when I was starting to have those mental health issues, I was like, dude, something's going on. This is my issue. It's not all anybody else's issues that I'm angry with. I was like, something's going on with me. So that's why I checked myself in.
Thank you for sharing that and the background. We talk a lot within our treatment programs about just getting people some treatment.
Right.
We recently have had about a 65% rate of success when somebody comes into our residential treatment program to finish, which by industry standards is very high. 50% is about the average. But still, that means 35% are not exiting positively. And so we talk a lot about even those who aren't exiting in the way that we would like, we're still getting some treatment,
Right.
and they're still getting some help that maybe it sticks with, right? Maybe later when the next problem arises, that next fork in the road comes, that treatment has a positive impact.
Right. And I noticed that throughout my treatment here. And so the time when I was younger it was my first time in treatment. Then I checked myself in the mental hospital. When I was about 32, I started trying to get myself better. When me and my wife fully divorced, it only took 6 months for me to become homeless. And
wow.
So I went from being a very successful engineer, designing light fixtures. Like I designed the cafeteria scene lighting for the Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. I designed all of the table lamps that they're eating underneath. So I got like 2 minutes, 38 seconds of official film time of my work. I've worked on San Diego International Airport, San Francisco MoMA, the San Francisco International Airport. I've worked on like several world-renowned projects.
Big deals, yeah.
Yeah, and then others that, like an AIA Peace Arch. I forget if it's in like Arkansas or something like that, but something like, 250,000 architects walk through that, every year. So I had some very good success, and I went from making nearly 6 figures a year to making 0, struggling, not knowing where I was going to eat. And
what happened?
So as I mentioned earlier, like my wife was unfaithful, and I fell apart. I saw her out with the guy she was cheating on me with, and I couldn't handle it. I was going off my rocker. Started drinking heavily, doing a lot more drugs, gotten a lot of fights, just at random, and dealing with a lot of people, a lot of shady characters that I never should have dealt with. Got myself into some trouble, like some underworld trouble, besides legal trouble. And like I said, about 6 months after that, I was homeless, living on the streets, living in a tent down by the lagoon in Carlsbad, struggling. I kept a gym membership so I could go shower every day and stuff like that, and try not to let everybody that knew me, like the whole city knew me. It's a big change, and it's a hard thing to deal with. And I never thought that would ever happen to me. I never had any super life-changing experience like that to happen so quickly either. I never thought it could happen like that.
Do you remember what it felt like when you're in that tent and reflecting on how quickly that all happened?
For some of the time, I never really wanted to think about it. Like I said, I started using a lot heavier, and but I started praying. I realized I didn't want it. That wasn't what I wanted. It was not the way my life was supposed to be. I started praying about it. I started praying to God that I didn't want to have to wake up and need a drink. And it's funny that it took me, like, usually people become homeless and they start drinking more, start using more, but I actually stopped drinking. I woke up one day and I was on my way to the store. I had like $5 in my pocket, and I was like, maybe I'll get something to drink today. And I thought about it. I was like, wait, when's the last time I actually had a drink? And it had been 3 months. And that's when I realized, I was like, dude, I don't need to do this anymore. It still took a little while. I tried to reach out for help, but the resources at the time, like in 2019, like pre-COVID, there wasn't a lot of great resources locally in North County. I mean, I'm sure you guys were here. I just didn't know about it. I didn't know how to reach out. So I reached out to like the homeless outreach team, or the in-home homeless outreach team. and I had gotten in trouble with, I got a possession ticket or something like that. And I asked the judge, I said, look, I need to leave North County. I said, I need to get out of this area. I need to go to rehab. I was like, I don't want to do time. I don't want to do anything like that. I need help.
Yeah.
And so this judge said, okay. And he let me go up to Phoenix House again, but this time up in Venice Beach. Day that me and my mom drove up to LA to have me medically cleared to enter that program, we were on our way back and we actually got rear-ended by a cable utility van. And that's why I have my cane now. Injured.
Okay.
Yeah. So I injured my neck, my back, my hip, and my knee, pretty seriously. And that was probably like the biggest life-changing moment for the last few years. That's kind of set me on the path that I'm on now. I went to Phoenix House for 2 months, graduated, came back. That's when I had nowhere really to go. Got connected with the IHOT team, the in-home homeless outreach team. They got me into the independent living in Oceanside. And then in September of that same year, 2019, there was a fire at the house. Burned me pretty bad. Got 20% second degree burns to like 20% of my body. Spent about a month in the hospital. After that, I was charged with the manufacturing charge, and spent I think 3 months in jail. I got out of jail. I went to New Connections in Lemon Grove for about 45 days. Transferred to Amity and Vista for 45 days. I was medically discharged from Amity and Vista, went to the crisis stabilization unit at Palomar, and then was released on like my own recognizance, kind of like a home supervision, until October when I came here. And October of 2021, I believe it was, when I came here. So it was...
it's a lot of bouncing around.
Yeah.
I mean, you went from to the treatment program up in LA, and then you come back here, and the home burns down, and
right.
You have this other issue, and then you have a couple treatment programs.
Right. And
you end up at the crisis stabilization unit. I mean, you must have been in a bad place when that happened.
Right. So at Amity, actually, they withheld my mental health medication for like about 30 days and then put me through this thing they call workshops, which is where they like bring up all of your past trauma and make you try to deal with it. And like, so I was in like already a bad space, not being on my medication for over a month.
Yeah.
And so I lost it. I flipped out. I ended up relapsing while I was there. And instead of discharging me and sending me back to court and completely screwing me over, they medically discharged me and let me go to the crisis stabilization unit. So they really didn't help me out, but they helped me out in that way to where they didn't cost me legally.
Yeah.
They allowed me to continue going on and just saying he needs to transition to another program.
And then did you reach out to Interfaith on your own at that point?
Right.
And you had been here, right, for the 4 days previously.
Yeah. So
earlier stint.
So I had been here that 4 days earlier, and then I reached out and I got a hold of Tracy and Vanessa, and they reminded me, like, you were here before, it might not be a great idea. I was like, please, I need help. I was begging and pleading, and they allowed me to come back, entered into the program. And so I was here for that 3 months. I had a lot of issues while I was here. I actually got kicked out of the neighborhood health building because I got in an argument with one of the nurses there, and security followed me out, and they're like about to like escort me off property. And I was like, I live here, bro. Like, get away from me. And so they entered me into anger management while I was here. I was like one of the only people doing anger management, like workbooks and stuff, and doing one-on-one sessions. And
so just for our listeners, so the center here, it's a multi-service center.
Right.
We have public-facing services. You can get food. You can get help with job searches, housing searches. We also have a medical clinic that Neighborhood Health operates, and then we have the treatment program that you were in. So you get into the altercation at Neighborhood. They're escorting you out. You explain, hey, no, I'm here in the program. I live here. I'm curious. How did that actually get resolved at that point?
So I stopped at the door to the actual
The treatment program.
treatment program, and I stopped and like, whoa, what are you doing? No, you need to leave. I was like, dude, I live here, bro. Yeah. And the security guard's like, yeah, no way. And then so Wayne, one of the other counselors, opened the door. He's like, what's going on? And I was like, dude, can you tell this guy I live here? And he was like, calm down. What's going on? And I was like, screw this, blah, 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 F this, F that.
Yeah.
I was like, this lady doesn't know. They treated me like, and he's like, dude, whoa, calm down, dude. And I was like, dude, I don't know what to do. I'm freaking out right now. I'm like, they're trying to kick me out. I'm like, I got nowhere to go. And he's like, dude, don't worry about it. We talked about it. They talked to Vanessa and a couple other people, and they're like, yeah, I think he's all right. I just need to let him calm down. So they started having me do anger management, working a workbook, doing more one-on-one sessions with my therapist and with some of the counselors. And that was when I finally recognized that I was being given a real chance. And it was the first time in my life I really felt like people cared about my success and about me getting the treatment that I needed. It was the first time I really wanted it too. I've started to recognize that like I need help. It's not just I want court to go away. It's I actually need to better my life at this point.
I was going to ask what was different. You just named one of the things, right? That you wanted it maybe for the first time. Were there other things that were different about why that time for the first time you felt like people cared?
Well, one of the things was me and Wayne didn't have a great introduction. Like for people that don't know, you kind of get woken up a little early in program, and I'm not a morning person by any means at all. I like sleep because I don't usually get very much of it, especially like with the pain from my back and neck and stuff like that. I barely get a few hours of sleep, if that, every night. So I got woken up early. He just flipped on the light, and I was like, dude, what's your problem? What's going on? He's like, well, talk to me like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just got kind of combative, and I was really resistant, and it took me a minute to like calm myself down. And later on, I wrote a letter to him and I said, look, dude, I just don't appreciate the way that you talk to me or the way you wake me up in the morning. It's like, I've got some PTSD issues from all the things that have happened in my life. It's like, it just is very surprising. I can't handle it. And me and him talked it out and built like a good rapport after that. It's like, okay, I understand where you're coming from and what you need, and you understand what I need, and we'll just work through that. So when I came to the door and security's trying to kick me out, and he was like, whoa, dude, no, hey, I got you. Don't worry.
Full circle.
It was like, I didn't like this guy in the beginning, and now we're like, okay, we got it. And he's trying to help me out and trying to get me the help that I need.
Yeah, that's powerful.
And something in the back of my head just clicked, and I was like, all right, cool. Like I can trust this guy. I can trust what's happening right now. And I believe that I'm not just a paycheck for them. They're actually trying to help me save my own life. And so that was the biggest thing for me.
I was just talking to Wayne earlier this week that that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
He was saying that, that's why he's here.
Yeah.
And all of us are here.
That's one of the hardest things to recognize when in program is that the people that you don't get along with are still trying to help you. I mean, in any program, you're still going to run into the people that if you don't like it, there's the door. And I think I actually had that argument with him before too. Yeah. So if we're both here for the same purpose, let's work together. And so I was thankful that I had a good set of counselors when I was here that recognized that and that were on that same page with me. Is I'm going to work for this. I'm trying to save my life. I need you to help me do that.
What was it like when you reached the end of the program and succeeded?
So that was honestly very surprising for me. It was the first time I actually fully succeeded through a program and was confident in what I was doing. I graduated the program here and went to outpatient, like I said, went to a sober living and doing the outpatient program. But graduating from here was kind of nerve-wracking because it's like, all right, I got to start my life over again. I just came from being homeless, not knowing where I was going to eat, to going to rehab, still have all this court stuff over my head. And now I'm like, what do I do? How do I deal with this? And one of the things that I was very grateful for is my counselor, Sandy, gave me a card for the Rising Scholars program for Dr. Nora over at Rising Scholars. And it's a program for incarcerated and formerly incarcerated students. So people that are returning to school after long stints in prison, or even people that are just justice impacted. Like maybe their parent was in prison or something like that. So it's impacted their lives in some way.
And this is at Palomar College.
Yeah. So Palomar College, the Rising Scholars Program, is a very good program. That's why I got my shirt on.
Repping it with the shirt.
I rock these shirts as often as I can to try to encourage people, because you never know who you're going to run into on the street. I've met people on the train that are like, hey, what's going on with that? You know, they see the education, not incarceration. I explain it to them. And I think actually there's 1 or 2 students that might have gone to the program just because.
That's awesome.
And so they got me back into school. And that's one of the biggest things for me is I think school is the biggest reason why I've been able to be successful and stay sober. I've recognized that I can't cloud my mind with anything if I'm trying to study calculus and physics.
Makes sense.
Not exactly easy to do. So returning to school was one of the biggest things.
And being challenged in school, because you were sharing earlier about how school was easy for you as a kid, right?
Right.
And that
not anymore.
Yeah.
Not
well,
anymore.
being challenged, right?
Key. So school was, or the things that they were teaching me in school when I was a kid were very easy, because I understand the way the world works, the things that they're trying to teach me. I taught myself how to read and how to do math when I was a kid, because I was jealous of my brother knowing things that I didn't. So I taught myself. At least that's what my mom told me.
Yeah.
So I kept on moving forward. I always knew what I was doing. When I went back to school now, I was like, what am I going to do? I already have a degree in architectural drafting technology, but the scary thing for me was the first semester I was back, about a month into the semester, I had a seizure. And I lost a lot of the stuff that I used to know. The programs that I used to know, completely gone. I couldn't even draw a line with AutoCAD anymore.
That's scary.
And I used to be able to design entire buildings. Like I've won first place and best in class at the San Diego County Fair with some of my designs, and now I can't even do that. So I got scared. I had to take an emergency withdrawal from those classes and back out and make a new plan. But luckily, I had the encouragement of the Rising Scholars Program and the people there, along with my counselors here, that, you know, kind of encouraged me, like, you can do it. You might not be able to do what you used to, but you can do something.
Yeah.
And so I started taking air conditioning and refrigeration classes. I went back that next semester and aced all of my classes. And even one of the things that was a big thing, if I didn't have all the help that I had here from my counselors and the support group that I had, one of the things that happened was 3 days before my midterms of that semester that I went back, my girlfriend died. She had an accidental, she relapsed and had an accidental overdose, and she died.
I'm so sorry.
And 3 days later, I got 100% on all of my midterms. Just with the encouragement of, with God, with my church, with my counselors here, with my family supporting me and getting behind me and pushing me, and just like that trust and faith in myself that I can do it. Like, I've already gotten through this program. I'm back in school. Believing in myself really is the big thing. And I pushed through it. And since then, I've aced every single class. I've gotten 100% on most midterms and finals.
It's amazing.
For the last 2 years.
Wow.
I just graduated this last semester from Palomar College with another degree in air conditioning and refrigeration. I'm a universally certified HVAC technician. So I have my universal certification from the EPA for Section 608. Which is required for most work, for most HVAC work, and to be able to buy and handle refrigerants.
I don't know what that is, but I do know that we've had 6 air conditioners go out at Interfaith locations in the last few weeks. So maybe you and I can talk afterwards.
If it wasn't for my back, I'm your guy. But
that's amazing, though. But I mean, for you to accomplish all that and excel,
right.
Be challenged, and to have, my God, I'm so sorry about the death of your girlfriend. And
right.
I can't even imagine. And to, despite that, lean into the support network that you've built.
Right.
Build on the lessons.
That's the biggest thing for me, is having that support group. Like I said, Elliot is one of my great friends. You know, Love you, Elliot. He supported me the entire way through everything that I've done.
Yeah.
I stay in contact with all the counselors here. I stop by like every month or two to say what's up.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, of course.
Means a lot to us as well.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like a 55% or 65%, success rating or anything like that. That's great. That's phenomenal. But in the long term, it's like a 95% failure rate for long-term sobriety and continued success.
That's why we talk about treatment as incremental,
Right.
It builds and
it builds, and
a relapse doesn't eliminate the treatment.
Exactly. Right? And hopefully, that there are going to be failures. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be things like, my girlfriend died. I wanted nothing more to go out and smoke some weed and do something stupid. And no, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
My education and my life that I have now are too important to me to even have one slip up. Like I said, I pushed through. I graduated again. I just got this last semester. I graduated with honors from Palomar College. I'm now an international member of the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society. I was just inducted last semester as well.
Wow, congrats.
And now I've been accepted to the top 5 schools in the country for wildlife biology. And so I'll be transferring next month actually up to the Davidson Honors College at the University of Montana for wildlife biology and pre-veterinary medicine.
That's so cool.
So
congratulations.
Yeah. So success is possible. I know it can seem overwhelming to a lot of people. I mean, it was to me. I still can't believe like what's going on in my life, all the successes that I'm having.
Yeah.
But it's great. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today without the treatment I received here, without the support that I received here, and that I continue to receive from everybody here. It's life-changing, and I'm so glad that I made the decision to come back here.
Thank you for making the decision to come on the show today and to share about all this. People will hear this and it will reach them. It'll inspire them. For some, it'll help show there's a path forward. It's very impactful. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, of course. And I appreciate you guys having me on.
You wanted to, we were talking before, you wanted to share about what you've done at the Rising Scholars Network and the success you've realized, what lies ahead for you next academically, the importance of a strong support network. You were just speaking about how important that was during challenging times. What about goal setting?
So goal setting for me has always been difficult. I could always set shoot for the stars, hopefully or shoot for the moon. Hopefully you'll land among the stars, whatever, however it is they say it. I could make any goal, but it might not be that attainable. So when I came back to school, the first step was just get back to school. I got back to school, had that hiccup, had the seizure, things I had to back out. But my goal was to get back to school. So I made a new decision, new path. I actually hooked up with the DOR, the Department of Rehabilitation.
Yeah.
And they helped me get some resources so that I could pay for school. Because
they're great.
Being disabled with my, my back, my neck, my hip, and my knee all being out, I can't work. I haven't been able to work for several years. I would love nothing more to go back to work right now. Like I have a degree in HVAC. I can make a killer. I can make a killing doing that, but I can't do it physically right now. So they helped me pay for my tuition, pay for books, pay for my transit pass so I can get to and from my house to my doctor's appointments, things like that. They also help. One of the things that they do when you start with them is they make you set some goals. What do you plan on doing? Like, what is your educational goal now? What's your educational goal in the future? And what is your employment goal for the future after you complete your education? So that helped me set some real concrete goals. Is okay, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to finish this degree. I'll get my associates and then plan on transferring. One of the things that happened was I finished my degree in HVAC, but when I applied for all these schools for engineering and physics, they said, no, you don't have enough experience. We can't take you right now. And that's when UC Davis actually said, we'll accept you, but for your secondary major of wildlife biology. And so I was like, wait, what? I've always wanted to do this since I was a kid, but I've never had that. No one ever tells you, like, you see all those National Geographic magazines, you're like, oh, that's so cool. I'll be out there taking pictures of all this stuff. How do I get there? Nobody ever tells you, like, this is the path you take to do that. I'm like, it would be cool, but never thought it was an opportunity. when they offered that to me, it was just like, for me, it was God telling me, like, this is what you've always wanted to do. And I'm finally you've been doing well enough. You've been doing the things right that I want you to do. I'm giving you the opportunity. And so that was like, it was a godsend for me. So I took that offer from UC Davis, and I went like a free agent from football. Like, hey, guess what? I got this offer. What can you do better, to every other school? And like I said, I got accepted to 5 of the top schools in the country for it.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so what's the career goal with that degree? What are you going to do?
So the career goal for me is like, I'll be doing the wildlife biology, and hopefully I want to apply. That's one of the things I was mentioning earlier, is as soon as I get this court stuff settled and I get this mental health diversion dropped and I can get my entire record expunged, I'll be applying for the Montana Department of Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, or Wildlife, Fish, and Parks. And since it's a government position, I need to have a clear record. That's my ultimate goal.
All right.
And so I would like to be working with them as a field biologist and researcher while I'm continuing to do the pre-veterinary medicine program. And eventually, my ultimate goal is to have my own wildlife veterinary practice for undomesticated species, like we were talking about, bears, wolves, lions, tigers, bears. Oh my! That's going to be me.
All the wild stuff.
Exactly.
Well, if anyone can do it, Tom, it's you. And I love Montana. I've only been, I think, once or twice, but my wife and I were just talking about how we need to figure out how to get back out there. So maybe eventually when we're out there, we'll run into you in a forest somewhere.
I'll be hiding behind a tree, taking pictures somewhere.
I'll be running from bears. So, well, Tom, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show, for sharing about your journey, all the ups, the downs, from your background and the challenges that you had as a kid, working through the impact of treatment programs along the way, the challenges, the positive impacts that you've seen here at Interfaith, how you learned how to trust and see the opportunities ahead, and then the work that you did, and being able to share about it is a thing that I really personally appreciate that you're taking the time to do this. Thank you. Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity. And like I said, the main reason I'm doing this is if anybody is struggling with anything, they don't think it's possible. Like, if I can do it, you can do it. Anything is possible. You can be successful if you want it. And sometimes even if you don't want it, it might happen to you. So it's just taking any little baby steps can get you there. Anything is possible. It's a good way to end our time together. Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate it. All right.